Press that, turn screen,
Okay.
you're on, you're live.
Cool. Hi. Okay, hi. Hello. My name is Jessie Normal. I am the president of the Sasha Debevec-McKenney fan club, and I am here to welcome you to today's Wisconsin Book Festival event, which is Sasha Debevec-McKenney, reading from Joy is My Middle Name, which was published a couple months ago in the U.S. on Norton and in the U.K. on Fitzgeraldo. Thank you to the Madison Public Library, who is celebrating 150 years in service to our community. I love this library. So great. I'd also like to thank the Madison Public Library Foundation and all the sponsors for helping make this wonderful celebration possible. The Wisconsin Book Festival is pleased to be giving out free copies of Joy's My Middle Name to everyone in our audience today. This is possible courtesy of the Wisconsin Book Festival and the philanthropists who support it, and we're really grateful for their support. And we've been asked maybe we'll take a photograph right now. Okay.
Tradition, if you've been to a book festival event, this is a whole thing. So we're going to have everyone hold up their book, and I'm going to take a picture. All right. Oh, me. Yeah, you're facing Jane. All right, everyone say joy! Joy!
Okay, so that was the interactive component. Yeah, we are giving you now a reminder to please silence your cell phones so that the author is not interrupted, and to optionally share your experience via the various Wisconsin Book Festival media outlets by using the hashtag WIBookFest when posting information or uploading photos. Can you all hear me at a normal way? Because I'm hearing myself super loud up here. It's cool for you, though? Okay, I will carry on. Okay, now I'm going to introduce Sasha, and Joy's my middle name. A task I've been puzzling over for literal months. As it turns out, this opportunity to speak about one of my favorite poets and favorite books coincides with a many months-long attempt to write an essay on the subject. Turns out writing an essay is terrible. It's so hard. But I have, in my failed efforts, managed to put into words some of my feelings about what makes this poet and this book so exciting to me. First of all, it makes me laugh out loud. This is not the same thing as wit. I hate wit. I don't like smug, smiling knowingly to yourself. I'm not into that. This book is actually funny. Furthermore, when I say funny poetry, it sounds like it's at the exclusion of sadness, heartbreak, terror, or great depth of thinking. But that's not true. This book has all of those things. It reminded me of how in an interview in Paris Review, James Tate said of his own poetry, "There's nothing better than to move the reader deeply. I love my phony poems, but I'd rather break your heart. And if I can do both in the same poem, that's the best. If you laughed earlier in the poem and I bring you close to tears at the end, that's the best." I agree. I think this book makes me laugh and it breaks my heart. It does one of the best things I think poetry can do, which is it makes me re-see things, re-encounter my life and the world around me, access some real glimpse into what I've written here is the freaking human condition. Let me see, which for me, the human condition necessarily includes laughter. Like it'd be crazy to exclude that. In a recent New Yorker podcast episode featuring Sasha, she said something I really loved on the topic of humor in poetry, which was no human emotion is simple. She captures that so well in her poems. Okay, that's pretty much where I got you in my essay writing attempts. So now I'm going to move into just from a personal level. I'll add that I first met Sasha due to being a crazed fan. In 2021, a mutual friend of ours shared with me her poem stand-up routine. And I was obsessed with it. I would send it and read it to everybody I knew for weeks. I even used my dormant Twitter account, which had maybe a total of like 15 tweets over 8 years, to suddenly start posting a lot of her poems with like my own commentary, like, this is amazing. At one point, I DM'd her something like, "You write in the true super secret sonic language." If I could go back and find the message and read it to you verbatim, I would, but probably for the best, I deleted my Twitter account. Then, miraculously, I happened to move to Madison, where Sasha was living, having herself done the same fellowship at UW-Madison that I was moving here to do just a couple years prior. I couldn't believe this. What a crazy coincidence. And she and Tom and I met up at a bar when he and I came to visit to look at an apartment, and I realized pretty quickly it was not just her poems I loved, but the person herself. I'm so grateful to know you, to learn from you, and to love you. You write in the super secret sonic language. I'll say it again. You're the best in the biz of the heart and the soul, and my life's better for having you in it. Please help me in welcoming Sasha Debevec-McKenney.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Sasha. What should I say? Thank you to Chessie. I was literally like tearing up over there, but we cry a lot as poets. Thank you to the Wisconsin Book Festival. Thank you to everyone who's like volunteering their time and everything. I'm just really grateful. I hope you like my book, since you are forced to own it. Now, I will read. I'm gonna set a timer for 20, or I'm gonna just set a thing and see what's going on. Let's see. I moved to Madison, Wisconsin in 2013 in May. So I lived here basically on and off for like 10 years. So a lot of my book is very Madison, Wisconsin. It's like a very important place in my life. Like all the mistakes I made happened here for the first time, and then like the second time and the third time and the fourth time. So I'll read a couple like poems that I feel like are very of my 20s in Madison. And I lived on Williamson and Dickinson, and I worked at the co-op, and I drank at the Crystal Corner, and I never left that one block. And I didn't need to. Like, everything I needed was there. So this is called Looking Back. Looking back, shit was fucked up. We were broker than we thought, living off tips, committing check fraud, lending each other cat food, bumming cigarettes back and forth, making ourselves sick, saying yes too much, losing condoms inside us, breaking bones that would never totally heal, stealing weed, shooting Tullamore Dew, demanding the bartender play torn. We weren't safe on the bike path. There should have been more light. Okay, now I'm gonna read this poem called Like, which I feel like I love working in restaurants. I worked at Willoughby's for a really long time. I worked at Morris Ramen, worked at a bunch of places. But those are the two I have positive memories of. Okay, so this poem is called Like, and I feel like, I think it's important as a writer to be like part of the real world. And so I love working at restaurants, and you're like, stuff will happen to me there, and then something happens and you're like, oh, I wish it wasn't that actually. So this is kind of one of those poems. This is called Like. As I led the man through the crowded restaurant and to his table at the back, he said, "You sure are packing us in here, like on slave ships," when he could have said anything else. Packing us in here like daisies into a grocery store bouquet, packed together like the pages of a wet book, like A-listers in a Wes Anderson movie, like hemorrhoid cream in an unopened tube, like pennies in a pickle jar, like 40 to 50 exuberant rural children in an underfunded classroom, like a family of polar bears crowded together on a floating sheet of ice. He could have said even, like your ass in those jeans. Blood in a syringe, silver compact vehicles on the Beltline at rush hour, styrofoam tight in its cardboard box. Yeah, I was packing him in there. Like textured ground beef material into a Taco Bell grilled stuffed burrito. Like Amish girls in the back of a white van on the way to Walmart. Like bone regrowing into a plaster. Like bone regrowing inside a plaster cast. Like the flames in a fire. Like the fingers in my fist. Okay. So, yeah, like I said, I feel like I just like made a ton of mistakes in my 20s, but that's like what it's about, right? I think. So this is one of those poems. This is called Watching National Treasure for the First Time. And okay, so I like was in love with this married guy for like all of 2015, and his apartment was on the corner where Mother Fools is on Willie Street. And sometimes he would sit in his office and you could like see him in the window. So whenever I had to drive to Willie Street, I would make my friends go down his street so that I could like look in the window and like see him there. Anyways, so this is called Watching National Treasure for the First Time. And of course I asked myself, could I steal the Declaration of Independence? No, obviously. I just had a crying fit after failing to French braid my hair. Then I checked the Facebook of the wife of the married guy I was in love with in 2015 to make sure their baby was still ugly. And it was. And about halfway through the movie, I passed out drunk. It was 4:30 p.m. What was it the founding fathers said? If there's something wrong, those who have the ability to take action have the responsibility to take action. Or was that Nicolas Cage in National Treasure? My married guy was a painter. He showed me a painting of him and his wife as American Gothic. Their faces were painted blue to signify oxygen deprivation. He ripped the painting in half and said, "I will never have children with her." That line was on every list I found later when I Googled lies married men tell you. I knew that American Gothic was a painting of a father and a daughter, not a painting of a husband and a wife. But I knew that most men did not like when I lectured them on the value of historical accuracy. I wanted to believe in hidden treasure too, so I didn't correct him. Okay. Let's see. So I have a couple poems in the book. I think I write a lot about the same stuff. Like I'm obsessed with American presidents. Like I'm trying to see every president's grave. I've seen 28 so far. And right now I live in Grand Rapids, which is where Gerald Ford is buried. So that's huge for me. Like write a lot about American history. Write a lot about Wisconsin. It's where my mom is from. And I write a lot about like my body and especially like having body issues with, like we all do, whatever. So these are a couple of those poems. And these poems definitely are very like about calories. So if that's something that's difficult for you, could take a deep breath or take a second. Okay. This poem is called I Don't Want to Fall in Love Because I Don't Want to Gain Weight. And yeah, when I wrote this, I was like I didn't eat food. So have that in your mind. Okay. I don't want to fall in love because I don't want to gain weight, but I drank 800 calories of bourbon with him last night. And this morning I was so hungover, I would have let myself have it, a bagel, but I couldn't move. Dumbstruck with my hands down my pants until I had to go to work. No time. I talked myself back into eating the overnight oats in the fridge. Flax seeds, unsweetened almond milk. Once something goes into your body, it's in your body for good. Your thighs, your butt, your stomach. Last week, walking in the park, he asked, "What kind of food do you like?" I said, "Healthy." He said, "I've been craving wings." Me too, but I get mine unsauced. He tells me the truth about his girlfriend. He adds more and more to the scale. I shouldn't have put cream in my coffee this morning. 2 servings. One for me and one for the version of me that lets herself fall in love. She isn't scared to gain anything. To tell him, keep feeding me, like before I lost weight. I'm thinking about seconds and thirds with all of this still on my plate. It's like dipping bacon into maple syrup. It's egg yolk dripping down the hand. It's the hand up my shirt. Last night, the bartender told us we needed to get a room, and that was all I wanted, to be in a room with him. I told her, well, actually, we can't. We're having an affair. There isn't a room we can go to. This is our room. I made it for us. Okay, so I went to New York University to get my master's degree from like 2018 to 2020, and then I came back here and to do the fellowship Chessie was talking about. And I lived, basically like my backyard was on Lake Monona. And so then I just started writing about the lake all the time. So this is called Alone-derland, and it's kind of about my favorite television show, Alone, which is basically like they put all these survivalists into the woods. Woods is not a big enough term, like into the wilderness in the middle of Canada. And then they like are 5 miles away from each other. They are not allowed to talk to anybody, and they just like record themselves, and they kind of like, it's like whoever lasts the longest gets the money. I cannot recommend it enough. If I do one thing tonight, I'm like, go watch Alone. Season 6 and season 7 specifically are the best ones. So this is a Londerland. It snowed again last night, which meant this morning I could track my neighbor's dog, pissing his way across my backyard and over to the water, where I could see my own deflated tracks from yesterday. I tried to walk on the lake, but then I heard a crack. I stepped in my own footprints on the way back. 4 months ago, I was out here burning my unread newspapers strip by strip, toasting marshmallows perfectly gold and throwing them into the dark water. Now my hammock straps were frozen to the tree. Last year, I didn't think it was so special to be sharing something simple as a couch. There was even someone I shared a couch with often, and we held our breath together to see who could last longest. I lost. This Christmas, he sent me a box full of pine cones and a fraying vintage globe. I held it in my hand. I was supposed to paint the pine cones with peanut butter and roll them in seeds. This way, I would make friends with the birds. Some birds were already stopping on the little deck off my kitchen. I could see the lines of their feet in the snow, too. I never noticed animals like this until I started a survivalist show on the History Channel where 10 contestants film themselves alone in the Arctic. They have no choice but to notice the animals. They build log cabins out there and make chimneys from clay. They suck out squirrel guts and slice up porcupine livers. They cry into the camera as bears move past camp. One woman chanted, "I know I will be safe. I know I will be safe." She hadn't had a bowel movement in 10 days. The graphic across the television read, Constipation is one of the most life-threatening symptoms of starvation. And that's when I realized I had been starving myself for most of 2018. And I remembered being so lightheaded on a walk down Bedford, I almost passed out. I moved myself slowly through the CVS checkout line with a dark chocolate Kit Kat bar, which I ate while leaning in the sun. For a real survivalist, fat is the most important thing you can have. So they thank the lake for its trout. They thank the sap. They thank the rabbit after twisting its neck. They thank the moose for its tongue. They get so lonely. They make playing cards out of birch bark. They would kill for a book. I clicked the on switch on my new clear electric kettle. I already had a kettle on my stovetop, but it wasn't fast enough. There was nothing to be on time to, and nobody was waiting for me. But I wanted to see the water while it boiled, glowing blue. Outside, the lake was freezing. I didn't want to freeze with it. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip of water. Okay, I'll read a nice poem now. I was saying to Chessie earlier, there's like, well, this is not what I was saying to you earlier, but something I feel like I do love this about poetry books. It's like there's always like one beloved, you know? And then my book, it has like 8 beloveds. So like every single hymn in the book is like different or you or whatever. But what I was saying to Chessie earlier is that I feel really grateful that I wrote these poems when I was in love because I don't feel that way anymore, but I feel like I have access to those feelings now when I read the poem again. So I'll read these 2 poems, and here, this is a lake poem too. I think I might be right on time. Okay. This poem is called Johnny Teaches Me How to Use a Power Drill in Reverse. Okay. Johnny teaches me how to use a power drill in reverse to drive the screws out of his work desk so he can fit it down his basement staircase. Then he teaches me how to drill the screws in again, and we put it back together. In the basement, he teaches me how to hold a drumstick. He holds my hand and starts up a rhythm for me. My arms slack, but on beat, a metaphor so clear it's sickening. On the back porch, he teaches me how to put air in my bike tires. And later, I let him show me how to cut the seeds out of a jalapeno. Stubborn and glad when he stops me from touching my own eye, just as I was about to touch it. Sometimes in bed, he puts the palm of his hand on my chest and says something like, "What if we let your feelings in instead?" And I say, "Let them into where?" When he spins me around in his living room, sometimes I spin the wrong way. Apparently, I was supposed to know what it meant when he left his toothbrush at my apartment. I am supposed to stay still and let him pick the crust from my eyes in the morning. At night, I let him see me with my hair tied up. I lie in bed next to him and read. Just read. It's not that bad, I guess, letting my feelings in. Today, he's teaching me how to paddle a canoe. You don't have anything to worry about, he says. I feel the boat rocking beneath me, but I keep my elbow straight like his. We're sweethearts, he says, against the sunset. And I become the me in the middle of this lake. So sweet. Okay, so like the last 15 pages of the book are like notes on the book. Like I was really, really obsessed during my MFA thesis, especially with Lyndon Johnson. And I was reading these Robert Caro biographies of Lyndon Johnson. And it feels kind of like when you read those biographies, like the notes section is like all the stuff where they were like, you should cut this out. And he was like, yeah, I'll cut it out. And then you just like put it in the end. So it's like kind of like the books are amazing. It's the truth. But the notes are like have all these like kind of fun other things in them, like stuff about his brother and stuff like that. So I thought it would be funny to like have those notes and then also to like hide a poem in the back. So there's a poem in the back that I feel is like the companion piece to that poem, which is like, it's like a breakup poem. So I'll read this too. And it's called, I Never Got to See Dune 2 with Johnny. I never got to see Dune 2 with Johnny. We'll never know how that story ends. Something always stopped us from foraging for morels. He never got to saute them with butter for me. There was a woods by his parents' house. We would have stalked together every spring. And after, I'd have always needed him to tick-check every inch of me. I never got to see his house painted mint green. Never got to watch the construction workers connect the house to the garage. Never did much more than water the raised beds once or twice, though I imagined myself planning something useful. Eventually would have learned the difference between a turkey vulture and a true hawk flying over us on the highway. Could have convinced him to try out for Survivor. I was going to remake the pumpkin bread pudding I brought to Thanksgiving last year, but better. Dessert was ruined when his parents' dog trotted in with a deer's bloody heart in her mouth. She placed the heart on the ground, proud, and he got up and threw it out. Like, I'll read a nice poem. Okay, so I'll read two more poems. And I'm going to pause this. I'm at 19 minutes. Yeah, I'll read two more. So the first poem, I wrote this extremely in Madison. It's page 27. Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. It's called What Am I Afraid Of? What am I afraid of? The silence, the thoughts that come with it, the sinking suspicion that something more is wrong with me than anyone knows, including myself, including the doctor who hooked me up to the EKG machine and said that though my heartbeat was irregular, the irregularity was normal. It was nothing to worry about. The doctor told me there are two kinds of people: unhealthy people who refuse to get help, and healthy people who always think they're dying. Nobody's in between. But I've met so many kinds of people. People who stretch before they get out of bed. People who walk through life unstretched. People who think their body is a house, and people who don't think of their bodies at all. People who peel their carrots, people who don't. People who stand on the roof and let the wind make them cry. People who are afraid to cry. People who step on all the leaves on the sidewalk. People who look straight ahead. There are people like me. There are people who aren't like me. They don't know the names of all the different apples. Once when I was cashiering, a woman said to me, "Wow, you really know your kale." And once at the butcher shop, a man said to his dog, "That's the nice lady who smells like meat." And I'm still afraid I don't know what kind of person I am. I thought I would get a chance to do my life over in all the ways anyone could think of. Dying would be like changing the channel. I hate that you can't hold on to anything. I was washing an apple, and then I was coring it, and then it was cut. And that was weeks ago now. It was a Honeycrisp, and it lived up to its name. Okay, I'll read one more poem. And again, thank you so much for being here at, what is it, midnight, 1:30? I have no idea. I'm really grateful. It means a lot to me. I always wanted to read at the book fest, so this is really special for me. And I'll read one more poem. And this is called Prayer Poem. Okay. Prayer poem. It was Sunday and the Packers were losing. I started praying. I readied my offer to God. I was praying for the Packers to win. Dear God, I said, if you let the Packers win, I'll never drink again. Then I remembered my beer, half finished and waiting for me. Never mind, God, I said. Never mind. I'll think of something else. I looked around the room. There was, in the room, a man I did not intend on giving up on quite yet, a TV I would not watch less of, a floor I wouldn't sweep more. The Packers lost. For what must have been the first time in my life, I couldn't think of anything I was willing to give up or change about myself. I had prayed before to wake up different. I had begged God to change many things about my life, like who my parents were, or for a bead door to my bedroom, or to make me married to my favorite baseball player. I had even changed myself many times with no one's help. I changed myself, for instance, into a person who hikes. I hiked to the top of a hill in Indian Lake Park, where in 1857 a man built a tiny blue chapel. He promised God he'd build a chapel if his family survived the diphtheria epidemic. The snow on the path to the chapel had iced over, so I slid my way up the hill, falling every few feet to find myself face to face with some animal's blood, spilled into the snow. The blood continued up the entirety of the trail. I reminded myself that animals killed each other all the time. I needed new boots. My Timberlands were 6 years old and had holes. I prayed to God for new Timberlands. I prayed for warmer feet. I prayed to stop falling. The chapel was surrounded by a black fence. The chapel was about the size of my kitchen. Inside, there were multiple pictures of Mary. In the chapel, beneath two Marys, on top of the hill, there was a prayer book full of prayers. Moms had written down prayers for their kids who couldn't write yet. Kids prayed for the family dog who did not know prayers existed. Aunts and uncles were in the hospital. Maybe God had time to help. Reading other people's prayers felt dirty, but I didn't stop. I rationalized. I was certain my reading them only made them stronger. The end. Thank you. Thank you so much. Would you like to join me?
Well, that was the best.
Oh, I didn't even go to 40. Whatever.
Oh, yeah? And then you click the button, and then we're on.
Hello.
Hello. I loved that so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. I've prepared a couple questions, personally. And then, after we talk a little bit, we could open it up if anyone else has a question.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the first one. So I know you go on walks a lot, and I wonder, do you think of walking as connected to your poems? Do you write while you're on a walk ever, like mid-walk, or do you write at the end of a walk? Are they connected at all?
Great question.
Thank you.
Yes, all. I feel like I walk and it makes me feel more mentally healthy so I can stay alive and write more poems, base level. And then also, like, it depends. Sometimes I'm walking and I come up with a line or something, and then I'll keep walking and it'll keep developing. And that's why I think it's really important to, I don't know, I feel like sometimes I hear people being like, oh, my students write poems on their phones. Like, yeah, as long as you write a poem, it doesn't matter where you write it, you know? So I'll write it in my phone on walks. I like to, I don't know, there's like things that I feel like happen to you on a walk. I'm like, where do I look? Hi. There's things that happen to you on a walk, like when you're a poet. Like the other day, I was like walking around, and all of a sudden I was like, what are these bird sounds? And there was like a giant bird cage right up next to a window. And I wrote that down. I don't know, I feel like it's your responsibility as a writer, and this is not new information, to like look around you and write things down. And you see more stuff if you're walking. And I love plaques. I love learning about where I live. Like, I will always, especially like in the academic world, you're being forced to move around every year, every 2 years. And so like one way that I can feel closer to the place that I live is by learning about it and learning about what happened there. And that is information I collect on walks. And also just like, I don't know, I feel like I'm so often like in my head. And when I'm walking, I can kind of find a different headspace, you know? Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's all. And then there's like the physical like rhythm of walking, and I'll, don't worry. I literally was like, is it okay if I wear sunglasses to this? It's so bright in this room. So that was actually better for me. I'll also, like, if I'm in the place of revision, something I'll do is like record myself and then play it for myself while I'm walking, because then it's like it doesn't feel like mine as much. It's like when people tell you to like print your poem out in a different font, and you're like, that couldn't possibly work, but it does work. And then also, last thing, I'll bring a physical copy of a poem on a walk and like write on it, and like not bring my phone or something too. Yeah, I couldn't imagine not walking all the time.
I wonder too, like you were talking about, like when like a line comes to you on a walk, what about if you're driving or if you're about to go to bed? What do you do in both those situations?
Write it.
You just pull over, or you just do it kind of while you're going, and then what about, because this is something that I experienced a lot. Like I've been told before, like by people who aren't poets, they've been like, ignore it, just go to bed. Like, and I'm like, then it's gone. So
yeah.
Do you have any like ways that you, like in the middle of the night, like?
So sometimes I'm like, people are like, well, if it's good enough, you'll remember it. But that's not true at all. I also am, off the record, really good at driving with my knees.
Oh, nice. Me too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just write it.
Yeah.
I've definitely written poems while driving before, which is probably not okay. But I had a teacher in high school who was always getting in car crashes because she was like, oh, I was writing a poem. I wasn't paying attention. And I always thought she was super cool. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, you just kind of got to do it at that moment. And also I feel like pain is temporary, right? And being tired is a kind of pain. So you're like, okay, well, I'll be tired tomorrow and then I'll go to sleep tomorrow. Yeah.
Totally. I one time taped up a huge piece of like butcher paper behind my bed and then taped a string attached to a pencil to the wall because I thought that would make it easier like in the nighttime. And then I'd wake up and it'd be like this crazy, huge, messy thing that was like ripping bongs by the lake. And I'm like, that's what I thought? Like, don't forget the great line. So then I was like, okay, is this necessary? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another question.
Okay.
What do you love in a poem, and what do you like really dislike in a poem, if anything comes to mind in either category?
Wow.
I mean, it's hard to say because like obviously a poem could do anything well.
Yeah.
If it's a great poem, but like broad strokes.
I'm such a hater, so I love this question. Something I love in a poem, I love a good title. But then it's like horrible when it's like a good title and the poem feels unrelated to the title. Immediate. I have such a short attention span too. I hate an epigraph. If there's like 3 epigraphs, I'm not reading that. I don't know. I feel like poem can be anything you want. If you write a poem, that's what matters. I'm never gonna like be mad that a poem got written for the most part. But I feel like if I look at a poem and it's like the words are all over the page, immediately I can't deal with that. Because I'm like, I want to be in control. I want all the lines to be the same length. I don't know what it is. It's just like, I'm like, sometimes I feel like, do you ever go to a poetry reading and the poet is reading really slow? But I'm like, reading it slow doesn't make it have more meaning. And I feel that the equivalent of that is like when you look at the page and there's like 5 words on the page. And I'm like, well, putting the word over on its own doesn't give it more meaning. To me, I don't know. I love exclamation marks in poems. I love jokes in poems. I feel like it's my job as the poet to like bring people in. I hate going to a reading and someone talks for 20 minutes and then the poem is 5 seconds long. Like, put it in the poem, maybe. That would be great. And that's how I feel about epigraphs too, where I'm like, if you can put it on the page, you can put it in the poem, for me personally. I don't know. I'm kind of just like, I'm like, what else do I hate? I hate the word womb. I hate the word flesh. I hate things that I don't believe. You know, like the classic example is someone being like, I'm bleeding onto the page. I'm like, you're not. That didn't happen. Things like that. But I love poems. Like, anyone can do anything, really. Yeah, and you're like my favorite poet, and your lines are all different lengths.
God knows it.
Yeah.
They're the worst. I can't get them
So it doesn't
even.
really matter. It's just like, for me personally,
Yeah.
I feel, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, like, one thing, like, if I see a poem in sections, like 1, 2, 3,
No,
I'm like, out the
absolutely
gate,
not.
like, I hate this. But you could, then occasionally, I'm like, that was a great poem that did it. So it happens, you know, but most of the time, if I hear someone get up and be like 1, I'm like, oh my God.
No,
but
so
then
bad.
actually sometimes it's so good.
Yeah.
So you can't do it, but that one puts me off.
That puts me off too. Wow, I wish I had more time to think about this, because I would have a long list of things I love too.
Yeah, things I love too, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I love a feeling in a poem that the poet isn't trying to teach me something or tell me something they already know.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're letting me be along for the ride of them being like, whoa.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Like when I feel like too much of like someone telling me something like, this is the facts, know it. I'm like, yeah. I don't know. But
No,
if they're
'cause-
like, let's find out, whoa, crazy journey. And like, then they seem surprised. I love that.
Yeah. You want to feel like the author wants you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were talking about Modern Poetry by Diane Seuss, which we both read recently and is like the best book ever. And in that book, I'm like, it feels like she had a job. Like she worked and she struggled and didn't just like live in a world where she like, I don't know, had tenure.
Completely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay, love
Yeah.
all of that. Yeah. Feel free to come tell us later what you hate. Okay, I had one more question. So the title of the book, Joy is my middle name. I know Joy truly is your middle name. And then I was thinking about alternate titles that you'd thought of that I was loving. Like they were all so good. You could have named it all of them, but I remember like one was maybe Sasha, and one was like Adele, like 33. You know, like the age. And I like loved all of those. And I'm just curious. Like I think often people assume or conflate like the speaker of the poem with the person who wrote it, and they're like, it's your true story. So when you include stuff like that, like your real name and like age and like whatever, how like do you preserve the space in the poem for like lying or like emotionally true but not accurate? And then I noticed in the notes section of the book, I loved how it felt like pulling the curtain back and being like, you thought that poem was all the facts, here's the real facts. And that was the poem, you know? So I think like the notes make it so cool. I guess I don't know how to phrase it, but like how do you see that space between like the you of you and the you in the book? And yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
But I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I can't help you there. So much of the book is true, but it's my experience of the truth. Like, my brother or my sister could write a lot about the same things that I wrote about in my book and have be completely different people despite having the same parents, you know, like, in grad school, we read this book. I can't remember what it was called. Is the poet maybe named Javier Zamora? Yeah? Yeah. He has a book of poems about basically, I think he has other books now, but the first book is about like crossing the border from Mexico into America as like a small child. It's called Unaccompanied. It's coming back to me. Yeah, something like that. Okay. And he was talking about how he felt this pressure to like check that his book wasn't going to like get somebody deported. And his lawyer was talking about how like it was okay because in a court of law, poetry is legally fiction. And I have held on to that phrase. I'm always like, it's legally fiction. So even though I think in the library it's nonfiction, which is interesting. But like, I don't know, I feel like there's so many secrets in my poems that are just for me. Like, and I talk, there's an essay by Edward Hirsch called Message in a Bottle. It's like the first chapter of his book on poetry that's really famous. And he's talking about how the poem is like a message in a bottle. Like, even though you are not, whoever picks up the message out of the ocean, even if it wasn't written to them, they were the person that the bottle found. And so then I'm like, okay, well, once I write the poem and it's out in the world, the 30 people who read it, like, it's theirs now to some extent. So it can't be totally mine anymore, and it can't like I'll let people believe such and such, but it's like every experience has been connected to another experience or combined with another experience, or I chose the word that sounded better or whatever. Like it was too painful to talk about the thing that really happened. Like we all have different levels of comfortability. Like my level, there's things in this book that like probably people would never share about themselves. Like, but I have a hard time being like, I love you. You know what I mean? Like it's all different. So there's like a lot that I held back, but you don't know that, you know? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I just like, it's something I think about a lot. Like if you use your own real name in something, or if you use like real, like how do you, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Preserve the space for yourself.
There's literally a poem in there about my mom that was really, really difficult for her. And it was in the New Yorker. And I was like, Mom, I got a poem in the New Yorker. She's like, I'm telling all my friends. I was like, wait a second before you realize what it's about. And it was definitely really difficult. And like, you know, but like, I think it helped her at least realize like this was my experience of it. And I think it kind of made her understand me in a way. Like, this is also not my idea, but I read this interview with the poet A. Van Jordan, and he was talking about like, as a Black man, people don't listen to him. But if he puts it in a poem, which is the highest form of communication, like this upscale, like bougie thing, people are willing to listen more. And so I feel like in that circumstance, like my mom, told her how I felt about this stuff for years and years and years and years. But I put it in a poem and she was like, oh, I can see it now. You know, so, and then in the book, I think I was like, the note was like, I'm sorry, Mom, or something, you know. But I don't know, what was I going to say? Like, no, I don't want a poem in the New Yorker because it's going to hurt my mom's feelings. Like, that's hard. You know, especially when it's like, well, she's hurt my feelings so much. You know,
well,
like.
Also, I feel like in the conversation on that podcast episode about that poem,
Oh, yeah.
I loved how, like, I think it's so true that the poem's also, like, it's not uncomplex, you know, it shows the complexity of things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not like,
fine.
fuck you, Mom, is the
No.
whole poem. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I wonder, you feel ready for questions from
Yeah.
potential strangers? If anyone has a question, please raise your hand. Yeah, I'll come to you.
Thank you. Those poems are beautiful. I just started getting a look at the book while you're reading along with the poem. I'm an editor, and I believe editors need editors. And so when you referred to disliking flesh, that made me laugh because I was like, I'm pretty sure I have a line in one of my poems, but I haven't published it yet. So I'm curious, my flesh feels a mess. I like how words kind of sound with the rhythm, but what's your beef with flesh, and is there anything you do with that? Thank you.
That's a great question. Well, I feel like it's overused. Like, I teach a lot of intro to creative writing, and I think my students, like, they think they need to sound darker, or they need to sound smarter, or they need to sound like more poetic. And I feel like it's one of those words that people pull to be like, my blood, my flesh. Like, I don't know. I also like don't like gore at all, and flesh is like not human, like it's meat. And so I'm like, I don't know, is there a better word? Like, what part of your body? Like, you know what I mean? Like, flesh could be your whole body. Like, where? You know, what did it feel like? Like, I think it's like this, it's like such a dark word. But it, like, again, you can do anything. Like, if you put the word flesh around other words that make it sound nice, you know, like, you could get away with it. I also, like, I don't know. if someone said to me, I hate the word flesh in a poem, I would be like, well, I'm going to use it more. So, yeah. But I'm really nice. We do an exercise at the beginning of the semester where we're like, what's a word you hate that you are sick of seeing? And then I always like secretly put womb and flesh. And I'm like, I hope you're listening. But yeah, that's my beef. I think it's just kind of gross and unspecific. Yeah.
Another question? I feel like I'm doing that, like my eyes are just going nuts.
I notice a lot of poets, they have their books published in softback. I mean, first, I love your poetry, and it's just great. Is that what's your secret, in other words, to getting a hardback publish of poetry?
Great question. I don't know. I think that's just what Norton does. Like, first edition is hardback. Although, like, I have the UK version in, like, paperback. And this is the one I carry around because it fits in my bag better. But I don't know. I feel really lucky that I got the opportunity to be published on Norton and get the hardback. It feels really special. But I don't know what the secret is. I guess Norton, W.W. Norton. But yeah, I'm like, what is the secret?
Like insert cardboard to your paperbacks. Yeah. Like, make it happen yourself if they don't give it to you.
Make it happen yourself. But I don't know. I feel like I like that. But I think when I request a book at the library and it's a hardback, I'm always a little disappointed because it's just like I like carrying around my little baby backpack, and sometimes the book doesn't fit if it's hardcover, which is really sad.
Any other questions?
One of the words that was used in the advertisement for this reading on the book festival schedule page was accessible for your poetry. And I'm wondering how much you think about readers and what is your personal relationship to the word accessible when it comes to poetry?
Thank you. That's a good question. Yes. I do, I think to almost a bad point, think a little maybe too much sometimes about, how are people going to react to this? And maybe I could stand to care less. But number one being like, it means a lot. I feel like my dad has sacrificed so much for me to be able to like go to college and go, follow my dreams. And if he like couldn't read my poems, it would really be like, what's the point of all of this? So base level, like I feel like I want my dad to be able to read my poems. Okay, whatever. I saw an interview with Ocean Vuong where he was talking about the women who went to his mom's nail salon, like never read books, but they read the Oprah's book club books. And so that's why it meant so much for him to be in Oprah's book club, because like these normal women who didn't read those books. And I was like, these are middle-class women who are getting their nails done. They read. Like, why are you talking about this as if these people never read a book? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just pissed me off. Maybe I'm just angry about that. But I just mean to say, like, I want my poems to be able to be understood because I feel my whole life I've been misunderstood. So in the poem, I have the opportunity to be listened to. And also, like, I grew up in suburban Connecticut. Like, I was going to Barnes and Noble and Borders, like, and there was Billy Collins and Charles Bukowski, and that's who I understood. That felt like I could read that and know what they were talking about. I feel like there's so much that keeps people from reading and writing poems because they're scared that they don't belong in that world, or it's not for them, or it doesn't make sense to them. And I really, really am like, I don't know, like I read a Lucille Clifton poem when I was like 16, and it was called In the Inner City, and it was literally like 6 lines, you know, in the inner city, or like we call it home, and then it's like, you know, whatever. And I was literally like, oh my God, poems are allowed to make sense. And that's why when you said, like, what do you not like about poems? It's like, if I don't know what's going on in the first 4 lines, like, why am I going to keep reading? I don't know. Like, people love to read a poem that's a riddle. I want to be able to read it one time and understand kind of what's happening. And then, because I like it and you were nice to me, I'll read it 6 more times and understand more and more and more about it. But if I can't access it on the first read, it just feels like I'm 14 again and you're telling me, like, this isn't for you. You know, and like, that's bullshit. Like, it's for everyone. So like, I feel like I think at first when I was like, oh, the first word in the description of my book is accessible, is that mean? Like, are they saying XYZ? But like, Sharon Olds is my favorite poet. I feel like she's so accessible. And then the more you read it, the more you realize there's like 50 things going on in every line and every decision. So I think, like, I don't know, I'm talking too much. But I also went to art high school, right? So all my experiences of writing poems were always in a workshop. Like, were always something that I shared with other people and wanted to be liked, you know? And so when people laughed and people got it and people were like, ew, or whatever, it felt so good versus when, you know, yeah. And yeah. The poem has to exist, like, on the page. It has to exist when you read it out loud. Like, there's so many times I go to poetry readings and I, like, can't understand what's happening because I, like, can't read it too, you know? Like, so, which, yeah, I don't know. Sorry. I'm talking too much, but I think it's like, for me, that's important for me, but I don't think it has to be important for anybody else. It's like, I keep saying, it's like whatever gets you to write the poem is what matters. Yeah. For me, I want people to laugh at my jokes. Yeah.
I mean, I love hearing that.
Okay.
I'm all about it. I agree. I'm keep kind of giving you all in the back a little look, like, is this, should I be saying we're going? Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I want to take another picture because there's many more of you in this room, so I'm going to have you do the whole.
Okay. And then when that's over, what should we do? Disperse?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, what if we all clap before then? Because I loved this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and now we'll do some photography.